It was laughter that did it. Not hers. His. A deep, smug kind of laugh. The kind that belongs to a man who believes he's untouchable. I stood near the bar, fingers brushing the rim of my glass, as Daniel, my ex-wife's new husband, reenacted my pathetic jobless phase. The room roared. His colleagues from the bank joined in. Even Claire smiled, softly, hesitantly, but it was there. Her smile, the one she once saved only for me. I didn't belong here, I knew that. But they had invited me out of pity, a gesture meant to show how mature everyone had become after the divorce. He called it good closure. I called it humiliation disguised as civility. So tell me, Adam, Daniel said, turning toward me, still trying to find work? I hear the job market's brutal when you don't have any useful skills. The table laughed again. Claire looked down. I smiled. Just enough. That's true, I said. Some of us are still searching for the right position. Inside, silence. The kind that isn't calm, it's calculating. I let them laugh. I let them toast. But in that moment, under the cheap glow of the restaurant's chandeliers, I remembered the signatures, the shell companies, the hidden subsidiaries. They didn't know the bank they all worked for was mine. It started years ago, with Claire, when love still meant something real. She told me I was too quiet, too focused, that I lived inside my head. She wanted warmth, chaos, someone who could laugh. Daniel was laughter, a bank manager with charm and a handshake that made people trust him instantly. I saw the change in her eyes before I ever saw the messages. The pity when she spoke to me, the way she smiled when her phone lit up, the way she called him a good man before she ever called him a friend. She didn't leave because of a fight. She left because he made her feel alive. I didn't beg. I didn't shout. I simply watched. And when she walked out of our home, I promised myself I would never give anyone that kind of power again. The bank was already mine then, hidden through layers of ownership and private holdings. I built it silently, through patience and precision. I knew men like Daniel, men who confuse confidence with invincibility. They were useful, predictable, and so I let him rise. I let him believe he had earned everything. I even approved his promotion. After the dinner humiliation, I began to study him again. This time, not as my ex-wife's husband, but as an employee under my invisible command. Daniel's file crossed my desk 3 days later. Late loan approvals, small policy violations, personal account irregularities. Nothing major, but enough. I didn't fire him. Not yet. I wanted him comfortable, arrogant. I watched from a distance as he posted photos of new cars, vacations, nights out with friends. Claire beside him, glowing. A curated life. She had traded stability for spectacle, and I, her shadow, remained in silence. Sometimes, late at night, I'd open the bank surveillance logs and watch Daniel's office feed. He'd lean back in his chair, feet on the desk, bragging to his subordinates. He'd talk about his connections, his vision. He thought he ran the place. He didn't know his own boss was watching. Every detail was a thread in a web I was quietly tightening. The audit reports, the HR complaints he never saw, the quiet whispers I planted. Revenge doesn't come from rage. It comes from discipline. 2 weeks later, I walked into the bank's main branch unannounced. I didn't use my name, just the title, Chairman. When I entered the conference room, Daniel was there with his team, mid-meeting. He looked up, startled as everyone stood. He didn't recognize me at first. He'd only seen me once since the wedding, and that night I'd played the fool. "Continue," I said, motioning toward him. "I'd like to hear how you manage the accounts." He stammered, confused, but complied. Numbers, charts, lies. And then I slid a file across the table. "Unauthorized transfers," I said. "Personal use of client funds. False reporting." His face drained of color. This isn't. "It's verified," I interrupted softly. "You'll find the signatures are yours." The room went silent. He turned to his colleagues for help. None looked at him. And then his eyes met mine. Recognition dawned. The jobless ex-husband from the dinner. I smiled, just slightly. "Mr. Daniels," I said, "you've been terminated." He came to my office the next day, uninvited. His voice trembled behind the door. "You set me up." I looked up from my desk, calm, detached. "I gave you the opportunity," I said. "You set yourself up. You knew, all along." "Yes." He stared at me, fury mixing with disbelief. "Claire doesn't know, does she?" I paused. "She will." He lunged forward, but security stepped in before he got close. As they pulled him away, I spoke quietly, almost kindly. "Don't worry, Daniel. You'll still be remembered. Just not how you hoped." Later that night, the story broke. Mismanagement, fraud, a disgraced manager. And somewhere in that storm of headlines and whispers, Claire's name vanished from his smile. I didn't call her. She did. Her voice cracked through the phone. "You destroyed him." "No," I said. "He destroyed himself. I just turned on the lights." Silence. The kind that ends things. There were no apologies, no explanations, just breathing. And then the click of disconnection. I stood by the window of my office, watching the city lights shimmer across the glass. The bank, my bank, hummed beneath me. They once mocked me for not having a job. Now they'd learn what it meant to build an empire in silence. Power doesn't shout, it waits, it listens, and when the time is right, it smiles. I never needed their respect, only their silence.